Here we are. Howdy, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. I just finished doing some kids' bedtime stuff, and now I'm back here. Been a long day. Been a busy day. Got a lot of work to do in the next couple of weeks before New York City Comic Con. So tonight, probably not going to be a super long one, but I did want to talk about cartoonist Crossroads Columbus and show off some new comics that I got. So we'll do a little bit of that, and then we'll talk a little bit about Inktober. But yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. How are y'all doing? And I think I've got all my links up early for me. All right. So, last weekend I was at Cartoonist Crossroads Columbus, also known as CXC. It is a smallish size convention, mid-size convention maybe, smallish convention in Columbus, Ohio. And a couple really cool things about this show. The first time I did it was maybe 8 years ago. It must have been the first or second year they had the show, and it was a really fun show. I had a really good time, but I hadn't had a chance to get back until this year. So the show was started by Jeff Smith and Tom Spurgeon. Tom Spurgeon was a pretty well-known comics journalist and just big-time supporter of comics of all kinds. And he passed, I think, maybe 2 years ago, a year ago. But the show's still going on, and Jeff Smith is still involved. Another interesting thing about the show is it takes place on kind of right where the OSU campus is, which is where the Billy Ireland Cartoon Art Museum is. And let me tell you, if you like comics and comic strips and cartoons and manga and all these things, you really need to go to the Billy Ireland Cartoon Art Museum. It is absolutely incredible. It's a really amazing resource for artists. They usually have a gallery show up, but this time it was Nancy. It was all about the Nancy cartoon. But they also have a permanent collection which has almost every single Calvin and Hobbes comic strip. They have Peanuts cartoons. They have original Little Nemo and Slumberland art. And this is a place where you can go and look at what's in the gallery, but also they have a reading room featuring just about any book you can think of, and then an archive that goes back to even the 1800s of different kinds of comics that you can look at as reference if you make an appointment. So it's a really amazing place, and I would say keep an eye on their website if you live anywhere near that area, and if they have a show up that looks interesting to you, go down there and spend a day at the museum and in the reading room. It's a really awesome place. So one of the reasons I wanted to go back this year was to go to the Billy Island again, but also a lot of my friends were at the show, and it just seemed like it'd be a good time, and it was a good time. This is my badge. It was designed by my friend M.S. Harkness, who I might have mentioned on the show before. M.S. is a comic artist that is really incredible, has done a few books like Tinderella and Time Under Tension, which just came out from Fantagraphics this last year. And her work is really incredible, and I encourage all of you to check it out. But she did the badges this year. She's kind of peripherally involved in the show now because she is a Columbus person now. She moved there, I think, a year or two ago. So I had a really good time seeing Marina, MS, and a bunch of other friends that were there. Too many to name, really, but I saw a whole lot of really great friends. And I also made some new friends and got some cool comics, so I thought I would show off some of these comics that I got. Some of these, I think, I traded with people. Some people maybe gave me these. I haven't had a chance to read them, so I can't speak to all the details yet. But let's check in with the chat here. Eli, hello. Good to see you. Nick Force, doing all right, working on your costume for New York City Comic Con. What are you going to be, Nick? Pepsi Cola. Thanks, Pepsi Cola. Appreciate that. Eli, hey, what's up, cool peeps? So yeah, guys, I'm just going to pull some of these out and see what I can remember about them and who gave them to me. And, hopefully I'll get a chance to read them sometime this week. I've been kind of just trying to get right back to work since I returned late Sunday night. I drove down with my friend Beth Hetland and Kyle O'Connell. My friends Beth Hetland and Kyle O'Connell. Beth is a comic artist who had a book Tender, which came out from Fantagraphics this year, which I encourage you all to pick up. And Kyle is her frequent collaborator, and we drove down together. It's about 6 hours from here to there. And on the way back, our mutual friend Gina Winbrandt, who's also an amazing cartoonist. Gina Winbrandt's work is hilarious. You should all go check out Gina's stuff. I've probably mentioned it here before, but it's really good stuff. But anyway, she was driving back by herself, and so I rode along with Gina just so she had a passenger, and we kind of carpooled back, and that was really fun because those are all some amazing creators that I really like to be around, Beth and Kyle and Gina. So this book here looks like it's called Plasma Head, Urban Monster. That's kind of a wild title. Ransom McCarthy. I think this nice person came up to me at the show, and I believe they gave me this. And I was excited to look at it because it's got some really cool energy in here, man, like splatters and sort of scratchy lines and kind of this noirish look with the heavy shadows. Pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure what the story is. Looks like there's some action though. It's kind of cool little angle here on the buildings, and kind of I like these simple buildings. These are nice, really impressionistic. Yeah, this is cool. Looking forward to reading more of this. Looks like you can find this person, Ransom McCarthy Art, on Instagram. So check that out. And thank you, Ransom, for giving me this. Thank you, everybody who traded with me or let me see their work. I'm very flattered always when people want to trade or hang out. Nick Force is going to be the Adam West Batman, Magneto, and maybe Daredevil. Whoa, you got 3 different costumes? Dang. Eli, heavy ink look gives it such a striking look. Yeah, for sure, man. This guy, Nick Marino, I believe. Nick would be the one who gave this to me because Nick is a writer, and he came up and introduced himself, and he was a really nice guy, and he mentioned that he had worked with my friend Sean Dove. He said, I think you know Sean Dove. I'm like, oh yeah, man, I've known Sean since me and Sean went to college together, and he's an amazing illustrator that does work. Right now he's working on a Sesame Street comic, and he's done kaiju comics in the past. He had a book called Brobots. He's a good old friend, but also a really good artist. Nick Marino wanted to give me this little kind of kaiju thing that they did together. So you can see Sean's art. It has a very, he's just very efficient, right? And he has such a wide breadth of knowledge about things like, say, manga and kaiju films and different things that he sort of just can blend them all into this really nice, clean style. So this is Biolante versus Destroya, and I think that the book comes out on May 10th. Oh, so this is a book that already came out. I remember Sean showing me some of these pages. This is cool. This little typing, it kind of gives me Cowboy Bebop vibes. So this is just kind of a little background, I think, a little teaser. But check it out. nickmarino.net, seandove.com. 2 good dudes right there. Gonna have to read more of that. Ichthys, hello. What will be the next Inktober? You'll have to stay tuned to hear what that's going to be, Ichthys. And we'll see what happens. But I'm going to show some more comics, and then I'll do a little brief Inktober thing. But this guy, Michael Shea Wright. This guy I actually met at a party at MS's house, one of the parties after the show. The show, so one really cool thing for CXC, if any of you guys out there watching this are comic book artists or creators, CXC is a really neat show in that they have the museum right there, and they also have 2 days of like a symposium before the show where you can go learn about different topics about making comics or teaching comics or comics history, all kinds of different presentations by other creative people. So that's really great. But then also there's a nice sense of community. They have like lots of things for the creators to do. And the snack room at this convention, oh man, like the snack room, I will say is hands down, the greatest green room snack room I've seen at any convention. It was incredible. They had this thing stacked with like, not just like waters and stuff, but like water, fruit, candy, energy drinks, Gatorade, headache medicine. Like it was the best. So if you ever get a chance to table at CXC, check out the green room. So anyway, I met this guy Mike at this party, and me and him were talking about he and I. We were talking about movies and how we had a lot of the similar tastes in movies, and so he wanted me to check out some of his work, and I wanted to check out some of his work because he does these sort of it's journalistic comics, but they are also full of just drawings and kind of different. Thoughts, and a lot of it is about movies that he saw or thoughts that he's had. Really interesting guy. I like his style. It's kind of a very. It reminds me of that movie. If you guys have seen Better Off Dead, or what was the other one called? One Crazy Summer, maybe. Those John Cusack films. There's a bunch of animation in those, and it's by this guy Savage Steve Holland. And for some reason, when I look at Mike's stuff, that's kind of what it makes me think of. But yeah, and he's on the back, like things he's listening to, things about him, kind of interesting. So Michael Shea Wright. Looks like his name on Instagram is Susan Saran Wrap. That's pretty funny. I don't know if that's true. I followed him, but I don't remember what his handle was. Heavenly in the Green Room, no joke, dude. Baltimore Comic Con was epic. Definitely going again next year. I've never done that one. I would really like to check it out. So, guys, I was at another party, and I ran into, it was like I was hanging out outside with a buddy. I was talking to Ben Passmore, and then Chris Anderson and I were talking, and then some other guys joined us. And one of them, was introduced to me as Tom, and I was like, okay, hey, what's up? They were like, do you know Tom? I was like, no, I don't know Tom. And so we were talking and hanging out, and then I realized it was Tom Neely. And I was like, oh, Tom Neely. He did The Humans, and he did Henry and Glenn Forever. If you've never read Henry and Glenn Forever, it's the original comic that came out. It's about Henry Rollins and Glenn Danzig if they were like in a relationship together. So it's a pretty hilarious little kind of goof on those two guys. And I don't think Glenn is a fan, but I know they're both aware of it. I don't think Henry Rollins was too upset, but it's a really, he's got a really great style. I love his kind of weirdly shaped panels and stuff, and the brush line cartooning that he does. It's so old school. You don't see a lot of people as good as he is at this right now, and I'm pretty sure a lot of this is hand lettered, if I'm not mistaken. But it kind of goes about like different things that are happening to them in their day and how they, up here they're like darling, and he's got his eye poked out. It's pretty, just goofball, it's pretty goofball, but I love it. The original one was hilarious. It's like a cult classic. And so this is the new one. It's on really cool paper. This is really nice. Here's a little pin-up by Tom Neely here. After Carl Barks. This is a Scrooge McDuck reference, if you guys haven't read those Carl Barks and Don Rosa ones. Look at this. This is crazy. The cat attack. Pretty cool stuff. Tom was really nice, and we traded some comics. So I got a couple things from him. I got Henry and Glenn, and then I also got from him, where did it go? It's in here somewhere. I also got from him his book. Oh, here we go. Pastiche. So this one has a lot of Popeye references, as you can see. Let's see here. Nick Force, is this your first New York City Comic Con? It will be my first New York City Comic Con, Nick. Thank you for asking that. I'm excited and a little nervous. So please, if you're in New York, be gentle with me. I haven't been there in a long time. The last time I was in New York was for, I think, Mocha Fest, like maybe 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. That might have been the last time I was in New York. But I will be there, and I'll be staying with my buddy Derek. I'm very excited to just hang out with him. And yeah, I'll be there. Should be fun. A couple weeks from now. But here's some more Tom Neely. In this one, he colors with the kind of bigger dot patterns, so it's reminiscent of older printing. It might not come across on the camera, but it's kind of got the lower res dot patterns emulated on this, which is really cool. And look at this, just great cartooning, awesome little fight scenes, switching things up, and then the amount of detail here. He might have been telling me he was doing these 18 by 24. Maybe I'm confusing this with a different project he was talking about, but I was like, man, that's huge. These are really cool, though. So, Tom Neely, check him out. He rocks. Okay, now I'm just going to show some boring comics you can get at the store. I won't talk too much about it because I'm sure you've all seen them already. But of course, I have to show off The Moon is Following Us, #1. If you haven't got it yet, you got to go get it. Dan and Riley just making the magic happen, very excited for this. These guys, talk about two dudes at the top of their game. Dan and Riley are two creators I have so much admiration for, and to see them working together is really, really exciting. So I've had the opportunity to see a lot of these pages before, and I can tell you it's just gets cooler and cooler as it goes on. But I always like to get it still in print and check it out in that sense. But yeah, this is really amazing. They're both doing certain parts of the book depending on whether it's in the real world or kind of like this dream world or whatever. And so this is a Dan, brush image here, but this is Riley all throughout here. And look at this stuff Riley's doing with these, like these. Oh man, look at that. That's just epic, And then he balances that with these delicate little figure drawings and these tiny panels. Oh, I'm so jealous of some of these things that he's doing. That he's able to pull them off. These little pocks, those are so great. His character designs are just incredibly easy to read, and look at this bat guy with all the guns. Man. And then here's another page by Dan at the bottom, And it's, I don't know if he's already mentioned this. This is a bridge right by his house that he walks on all the time with his family. So he's very familiar with it. Because I've walked on this bridge a million times. My daughter, we live nearby, and my daughter and I one summer had an art class over there. So I was walking across this bridge every day. So as soon as I saw it on the page, I was like, oh dang, that's the bridge, man. It's just so cool to see them both putting that kind of stuff in here. These little personal touches, I think this one's pretty personal. A lot of Dan's stuff has that. Here's some more Dan pages at the back. And of course, Spicer bringing it all together. Whew! You're going to want to pick this one up. Also, I will have a cover on a future issue. I can't tell you which one yet, but I will when it's ready. Got some apple cider. Fall time, Okay, Ichthus loves the Popeye influence. The Moon is Following Us is so dope. Cova's Lookout says, Ichthus, have you done a variant cover for this series? I will. There you go. The art is glorious. The book is so cool. Riley's art is so good. Jordan, you are right. Riley is so good. And so, I hope more people see him on this book. He's really, really good. Guys and people who make comics, we all know how good Riley is. It's not even a question. Everybody knows he's really good. And so I think that fans need to get there too. I can't remember if I showed this one before. This is just the new Precious Metal. I don't gotta probably go through all of it, but you know how I feel about Ian Bertram. I think he's really interesting. He does some really cool surreal stuff in this. I am finding this one, compared to the Little Bird series, to be this one is feeling a little more, even probably more surreal than that one was. It's kind of a prequel. And they're doing some weird things with the colors still. It's almost like he puts a dissipate level on top of or like a light dispersion level blend on top of the art or something, and so it has this speckled feeling. I mean, if you've seen it in real life, you'll know. You're not going to be able to tell from the camera here, but it's like kind of a speckling that he does, that the colorist is doing. I think it's Hollingsworth. Yeah, Hollingsworth. But you know, Ian's stuff, he's always got the little Swiss cheese people. Everybody's got little Swiss cheese chunks, but these, oh man, these cityscapes are so cool. Perfect color hold there. It's a great book. You know, I would recommend picking it up, you know, if for nothing else than the art. The story, it does leave a lot, you know, for us to read into it, which I like, but that is hard for some people, I think. But the art is worth it. Here, we'll shift into this. Missionary, the new Ryan Stegman, Jason Howard book. Of course, Ryan, my collaborator on The Schlub. And then Jason Howard is another friend of ours that is, I think, an amazing artist. If you guys didn't check this book out, it's from Distillery. It's pretty good. Let's see. Precious Metals Crazy, Jordan says. I'm too dumb to follow the story, but the art is top notch. I like the grain level he uses. Both those books are amazing. Thank you, Brandon Mullins. The Missionary. So this book is kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's about like a guy who gets sort of possessed by a demon when his wife is cheating on him with a priest. And it is pretty wacky. If you liked The Schlub and sort of our humor in that, I think you'll probably like this. This is maybe more dirty than The Schlub was. You know, a little more, I don't know what the word is. You know, teen comedy, or I don't know. Whereas The Schlub is maybe more all ages, I guess. Maybe not completely. But it's pretty cool. Jason does great designs. I love the way he uses the balance of light and dark on the page. He's a really good cartoonist. He is one of my favorite people to get feedback from because he's really smart and he really understands what works and what doesn't work. He's done so many comics, and I really love his stuff. So I found this to be a pretty fun book. I mean, I am biased because these are my friends, but I think it's a pretty fun book, and I think you should all give it a shot. You know, it is in this magazine format, which is kind of different. So, you know, it's kind of nice to always have a different reading experience in the middle, like, you know, regular floppy, you know, get something else in there. All right. I got to meet Ryan at the con. He hyped the Schlub. Right on, man. Thanks, Eli, and thanks, Ryan, for hyping the Schlub. Which con, I wonder, was he at Baltimore or Boston, whichever one you guys were just at? All right. Wait, what is this? What is this? I think I skipped this one. Oh, this is another one I got at the convention at CXC. This guy, Joseph, I think, was the guy who I think gave me this. And it's got a lot of great people in here. Mark Laszlo, Josh Baer, who's sitting next to me at CXC, nice guy. Ben Passmore is a friend of mine. Buster Moody, Kelly Williams, Hyena Hell, they were next to me at the show. So it's like a little anthology. I didn't get a chance to read this, but here's some of the kind of, you know, this is sort of, I guess CXC it does lean a little more indie, so I was getting kind of stuff that is kind of, the way I would describe the work is that it sort of straddles a line between a comic and a cartoon. And when I say cartoon, I think I mean stuff that's influenced by comic strips. You know, I would call those people cartoonists and these people cartoonists. And it's hard to really define it completely, you know, but I think that you know what I mean if you've seen indie comics and mainstream comics. There's Ben. But this is pretty cool. All these people are good, so I'm excited to check it out. There's Buster for sure. What a maniac. Yeah, sorry, skip that one. All right, Goobers. Did you see Durf at the show? Kova's Lookout says. I did see him, actually, Kova. But I didn't speak with him. I saw him walking around the show for a minute. I can't remember if he was tabling, but I saw him walking around the show. But I did meet Durf last year at Cake, the show that I helped organize the last couple of years. Durf was one of our special guests, and he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. He's like, you know, very, you know, straightforward. You know, I remember when we were communicating with him about the show, he was just very much like, yeah, this is cool. All right, good. You know, and he was an awesome guest though. We had a really good time having him there. So Goobers is the new book by my pal Ryan Lee. I'm not familiar with the other guys as much, but Cody Ziegler and Kurt Michael Russell. I am kind of familiar with Kurt Michael Russell, I guess. He's a colorist, and he colored a couple things I did. He colored a Dead Space drawing that I did on one of his live streams. If you look up Kurt Michael Russell, Dead Space, Tyrell Cannon, you'll find a video of him coloring my Dead Space drawing I did a couple years ago. Anyway, Goobers is sort of like a little horror story akin to a Gremlins or a The Blob or any kind of backwoods kind of horror. So friends kind of are put in this situation where they have to survive, in a horrific situation is sort of the premise. But look at this art, man. Ryan Lee is also another incredible cartoonist that, he straddles that line too between sort of super cartoony and super illustrative, which is I think what most mainstream comics would be, is more of an illustrative style that leans more into realism. Ryan's stuff definitely embraces the cartooning, and he has great figure work. His guys are always kind of floppy, but they also feel like they still have structure. They have elbows and stuff instead of being like wiggle arm people. But he has all this great rendering and cross hatching, and the book has a mood for sure. And the mood is sort of 80s, 90s horror comedy. Think Tremors and Gremlins. It's really fun. Ryan always does neat things with panels. What's cool about this one, though, is that, look at that. It's crazy. What's cool with this book, though, is that he definitely has these restrained moments where the paneling is a little more, understated. And then when he breaks into the action, he gets a little more wild. And I love that, And there's a goober. There's the Goobers. It's like a little, I don't know what you'd call it, kind of a snake with a claw hand or something for a mouth. Anyway. So this book is crazy, man. You definitely got to check it out. They're stomping out this monster. It is super wild. And these covers are just bananas. If you're into like Garbage Pail Kids and stuff, you would love this. This is from Vault. So Goobers. All right, I think one more, and then I'm going to do some inking. So let's check in with the chat here. He had a sweet spot in Baltimore. His block had a bunch of great people in it. So you must be Stegman, okay. Kurt colored a Gavin Goudry X-Men piece for me. Yes, awesome. Goober is Vault, Jordan. And it is Jordan, it would absolutely be your jam, dude. Thinking about your art, like if you don't know Ryan Lee's art, dude, you got to dive in because he's right up your alley. Jordan, artist of the Fist, good guy. So I had to pick up Ultra Mega. I think I've mentioned before that the first one I wasn't a huge fan of the actual story. But I'm always looking to see what James is doing art-wise. And so I was conflicted, but then I picked this up, and like the art is just so so good, that I had to. And I'm really glad I did, because I do think this series so far has started off a little better for me personally than the first one did. I kind of like that it's way outside of what the first book was, where it's kind of Ultraman basically, like that's really all it is. And then this really puts us in a different spot with it, and the art is even more exaggerated, and I would say kind of like I was saying before, cartooned. I like that a lot of these guys are embracing that. It's still, I would say, illustrative, right? But like I think that he's really leaning into sort of these exaggerations, and it's given me Sam Keith vibes and Vaughn Bode and Cheech Wizard and like that kind of stuff, man. I think that I like that. I like it. I like that kind of stuff, and really cool. Just still shots of environments. Awesome balance of light and dark on the page. Just we all know that James is really good, but again, I like that he's embracing some of the humor more here, and that there's this the characters are emoting a little bit more. It feels really more emotive, and I like that. And then it ends with a really great little chase scene that I won't ruin here. But yeah, it's pretty good. I'm excited to see some more, because I think it's showing some promise, and the art is of course incredible. Okay, Jordan knows Ryan Lee. Good. Whew. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that people haven't heard of goobers. I'm kind of like, why not? All right, guys. So again, not going to be a super long one tonight, but I do want to. I have way too much going on, right? Like I've just got a lot of commissions I got to get finished, and I have this, for the show, and some other life stuff that's going on. Nothing to be worried about. But I always do Inktovers, and I had like so many different ones in mind. But considering where I'm at, I was like, why don't I just do one drawing in like 30 parts, you know? So, and see what happens, right? Just like what's going to happen, right? So I've sort of divided up this drawing into these shapes that I thought were kind of pleasing, and I think I'm going to try to maybe mirror to some extent like the areas. I haven't completely decided, and maybe try some different styles in each one of them. And I don't think I'm going to fully explain this on my Instagram or whatever right away, so you're getting a little sneak peek here behind the scenes. I think I'll just kind of start posting them and see if anybody can tell what's going on, and I'll kind of zoom out at some point. Assuming I even am able to keep going, because honestly, it might get busy and this might fall behind, but I do think I'll finish this because I like the idea of just having to worry about one little section a day, and then you kind of have a nice thing at the end. Well, hopefully, So today I'm going to do one of the easiest parts that I can think of, which is right up here, because I already know that I want, just when I thought about the drawing, I was like, I know I want some darkness up here and some darkness down here so that I can have a box shape. So I did make a few decisions already, but beyond that, I'm not really sure. So we're going to do this guy up here, and then see where we go. All right. No one spoil it. It Force says, kind of like that one Aliens commission. Yeah, Jordan, kind of like that. That was the original idea. And I was going to try to have an actual story take place and have that make the shape. But again, with the fact that I didn't have a story kind of in any sort of finalized form right now to work with, or any sort of even gem right now, I was like, kind of like, why don't I just focus on the drawing part of it? Because sometimes you got to do these decisions for art projects. You have to take into account your mental health and the amount of time that you have every day. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, Inktober doesn't have to be big and scary. Like, think about it that way. Like, if you could do just a grid drawing, those are fun to do, or you copy something with a grid, and, do an inch every day. You're still doing something every day, and in 30 days, you're going to have, like, a super detailed drawing, right? So, just something to try if you're having trouble getting going. That might be something to think about. So, I don't know if anyone can even tell exactly what the pencils are, but that's okay if you can't, because more of a surprise that way. This is going to be a mostly black panel, though. I know that already. Trying to think if anything else interesting happened. When I was at CXC, a lot of you folks out there might know who Art Spiegelman is. If you don't, you should look him up. He's a pretty kind of like one of the all-time greatest comic artists, creators, people in comics ever. He did a lot of things, but most notably, people think of him as the artist of Mouse, sort of an autobiographical, biographical story about his parents and their time in World War II, but told through like anthropomorphic animals. So I would say check that out. But anyway, if you probably all know who he is. I hope most of you know. But anyway, he was one of the guests of the show, and he was around the show floor, and everywhere he was like vaping everywhere. Nobody said anything to him either. We're like in a library, we're like in a theater, we're in like a restaurant. He's just vaping away, like just going at it, man. I mean, he's cool. Like, I'm not trying to say he's weird or anything, but he never put down that vape pen, and I was like, that's endearing. I love this guy. I've seen him speak a few times over the years. He's so knowledgeable. If you've never heard an Art Spiegelman's presentation, I'm sure you can find some of them out on the interwebs. But if you're looking to hear more about the like the history of alternative comics and stuff like Zap magazine and the stuff that was coming out in the 70s and the 60s, he's really knowledgeable about all of that. He's earned it for sure. That's right, Brandon. I mean, nobody's gonna. I was thinking like, who's gonna come up to Art Spiegelman in the middle of this show and say, "Mr. Spiegelman, you can't vape in here." I'd love to see what would happen with that. I think he would do nothing. He's a rebel, dude. He's a rebel. So we're kind of exploring. We'll see if I overwork this or underwork it. I don't know. I'm also debating, once I see the drawing, I might, kind of like the aliens one, do a zip on it, but I'll decide that later. But this is also a way for me to, my other kind of goal with this was to just have a vehicle to try out some different sort of inking styles and play around a little bit. Whereas when I'm working on a project, you try to keep it consistent. This I can maybe just try a few different things. So today we're just doing a Pentel brush pen, but on another day I might use a dip pen or a liner pen or just something else, like a different tool to kind of just to change it up. It's good to change it up. It's good to kind of try different things, and I find it beneficial. There was this guy, there is this guy that I know, this comic artist named Barrett Stanley, and he was in our science fiction romance comics anthology that I might have mentioned on here before, that I did quite a while back now. I did it maybe 8, 9 years, 10 years ago, called Speculative Relationships, and we had Barrett in one of our volumes. He does some really cool comics, kind of fun sci-fi rom-com-y comics. But so he draws all these things in space because it's a sci-fi comic, and he wouldn't do like ink splatters to get his stars like most of us do, like I did earlier today. He would like draw them in, like with his pen. He would like draw these star fields, just like this, and fill in all the black like this. So I thought I'd give that a shot right here for no reason in particular, just to kind of explore. I probably won't do all of it like that, but oh, see, I'm smudging it too. Wouldn't be a Tyrell Cannon drawing if it didn't have some smudges on there. Because you can always go darker, right? So the other thing is that I'm thinking about this mostly as a piece of original art, not necessarily, maybe I'll print it somewhere, but if you do it this way, when people look at it, they can kind of see that you did it this way, because they'll see the brush strokes on it. And that's kind of cool. I like to see those textures and stuff when I'm looking at a piece of art. That's why we go to museums and stuff, people think that if you think you've seen a painting because you saw a picture of it, like the Sistine Chapel, or I don't know, a Picasso, or even a Jackson Pollock, if you think you've seen it, just by seeing an image on a computer or whatever, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. Like I could have seen a painting 100 times in books and everything, and then that's the way it was when I saw the Sistine Chapel, man. It's like I'd studied that thing, I'd written papers on that thing, I'd copied parts of that thing, but I'd never seen it in real life. And then when I finally did, it was just a totally different. It was incredible, but it was not just like, oh yeah, there's that painting. It was a religious experience, let's say. So get out there to museums if you haven't, is what I'm saying. All right. Eli says that's an awesome idea. Thanks, man. Kova's Lookout. I was watching an art interview on CNN, something like that, and he was hitting the vape during it. Yeah. I saw this one book, Bloodrick. Wanted to put that on your radar. I got to look through the pencils, and the art is really awesome. You know, Eli, thanks for mentioning Bloodrick. I actually showed it off, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago. If you go to my backlog, you might see it in there. I loved it. I thought Bloodrick was awesome. I picked up the trade when it came out a couple weeks ago, and that's probably what I was showing off. Or maybe it was a single issue. I can't remember. But definitely, if anyone out there hasn't checked out Bloodrick, go check it out. Really cool stuff. Jordan, Spectre of Relationships is the reason I made the fist. Wow, man, that makes me feel good. I'm glad to hear that, man. Because I remember, I think. Are you saying that was your that was your submission? I think. So are you saying that that's why you made it, or am I confused? Either way, I'm so glad you made the fist, and I'm glad. I hope it was a positive thing that we were around. You know. I still have some of those. If anybody ever wants them, they are for sale on my website, featuring early comics by me and Danny Warren Johnson and Grim Wilkins and shoot, man, who else is in there? Ben Passmore, Ezra Clayton Daniels. I think it's a pretty stacked list. So I'm just goofing off here, guys. And that's getting close to where I want it, I think. The other challenge is going to be every day to kind of keep in mind sort of the transitions between them, because I would like it to sort of read as a, you know, as an image still. I don't want it to be completely confusing, but if there's some ambiguity, I think that's probably okay with a piece like this. You know, do you make it so people will look at it for a while? That's why I'm doing it, so I can look at it for a while. I'm always in such a hurry, because when you're drawing comics, it's always like, okay, more, draw more, go to the next page. And I kind of miss, I used to do really big drawings when I was in college, and I would just like have them on the wall for a while and work on them. Okay. Bloodrick was awesome. Brandon Mullen says. Jordan Kroger. Yes, okay, that did start as a submission to Spectre Relationships. Okay. Yeah, and it led to you drawing lots of punching, so win-win. Yeah, I like that. It's good to goof when you can, Nick Force says. Also, hey, maybe I'll take a short minute here. I'm going to let this dry for a second before I do a couple more things. Do you guys want to see a commission I just finished? I'll show it for a second. I haven't showed it anywhere else yet. I haven't even told the guy it's done yet, but I did a Scott and Jean today. It turned out all right. I think I like it. Yeah, no, I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I haven't scanned it yet, but that was pretty fun. Fun one to do. Where'd my drink go? There's my apple cider. All right. Kova's Lookout says nice. Eli says woo. Yeah, that one was cool, man. That one was cool. It took me a minute to kind of figure it out, but pretty happy with what I ended up with. That's sick, dude. Thank you. The layout is cool. Nice. Someone is incredibly lucky, Nick says. So So yeah, I will be at New York City Comic Con if you know, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. So if you're going, definitely come by and say hi. I would love to meet anybody who's come to the live stream ever, or you know, checked out my stuff. If you mention the live stream that you check it out, I'll definitely throw in some extra stuff for you. The other thing that's gonna be hard for me is I'm so used to erasing right after I have inked, and I can't really do it on this because I have my other pencil lines around. I guess I could, but I have to be extra careful. You know what? I bet I can. I don't know what I'm thinking. I got my little erasers over here. Kind of just I have a little mid-tone here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. That's good, that's good. We need a little bit of white. Are you going to try and catch any panels while you're there? I'm going to try to, I'll probably stick in Artist Alley just because it's like if you do leave your table to go to something, I just have a feeling, just from what I've heard about the show, it would take me a real long time to get back afterwards, or, you know, get between the two things. So, and that's the one thing that is the worst about about tabling, and that's that you can't do all those cool things. And that's the other reason CXC is really cool, is because they have those things on Thursday and Friday for the artists to go to them. And then on Saturday and Sunday, there's still more programming, but you know, those are the days we're exhibiting, but like we have a chance to go to a bunch of programs on those first 2 days. And there's stuff at night too. There's like Art Spiegelman did a talk. There was a thing with some of the other special guests, like I think Brian Lee O'Malley might have done something because he was there. So I haven't been getting the results I wanted from my Pro White today until right now. Right now it's doing exactly what I want it to do, which is nice. So I don't know if maybe I just had maybe it was my brush was a little dry, or earlier it was not cooperating. All right. That's about there. Just want a few more like little pulley shapes here. Pulley, 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 pulley. Yeah, little wispy guys here. Like a little melted or something. I don't know. I like that. There we go. That'll do it, I think. Where'd my cat go? Caps for sale. There we go. Well, come on now. How many more times am I going to see something? Alright. Nick Forst, super crowded. I complain in the post-con survey every year. They oversell the show. Yeah. Yeah. See regional art at the Billy Island that stood out? Elephant Chainsaw asks. Yeah, I mean, when I was at Billy Island, I always try to catch. They usually have at least, they usually have like 5 or 10 Calvin and Hobbes strips out. And so I always study those, the Bill Watterson ones. Those are really amazing to see in person. And then the other one is the Little Nemo in Slumberland. They have a Little Nemo in Slumberland page. 2 of them actually out on display. There's probably more in the back. And those are from like, 1900s, and they're huge. They're huge. They're drawn so huge. And those are they blow my mind. Just thinking about just not only how great they are drawn and how cool the comic is and how awesome that whole series was, but the fact that they're from that long ago and they still feel innovative and interesting and fresh, and there's such a history in the medium. It makes me feel lots of feelings, when I see stuff like that. So those ones are big standouts for me. And then they also had pulled out when we got a backroom tour. The cartoonists were allowed in groups to go on a little tour of the actual archive rooms, and they pulled out some of the other Winsor McKay. They had animation pages of the Gertie the Dinosaur cartoon. If you've never seen that, go to YouTube, look up Gertie the Dinosaur. It's like an old animation. And so I got to see that too, and that was crazy to think, okay, this is a thing I've seen projected, I've seen it on video, I've seen it on TV, I've seen it on my phone, I've seen it on YouTube, This thing has been around since the 1900s, this animation of this dinosaur that this artist did by hand. And here's the original drawing that he did, that he touched, It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It was like right there in front of me. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool, just saying. Someone is incredibly lucky to get that piece. Yes, I already saw that one. Yeah, there you go, Elephant Chainsaw. That's the answer. All right, folks. Well, that's all we're going to do today on this one. But I might try to be on next week to do at least this, a little bit of this, kind of the Inktober thing that I have going on here. And if not, then it might be the following week. But I'll definitely try to keep up. But if I don't, it's because I am very busy and I have these great commissions. Hopefully I can get them all done and make them look awesome so that the people who got them will be very happy. That's an incredible experience, Eli says, seeing a piece of history like that. Looking great, Tyrell, Nick Force says. Well, thank you, folks, for tuning in again. I am going to go get some rest. I've had a very long day drawing, and my back needs a break. So I hope you all have a great night. And thanks again for tuning in. Subscribe, like, hit the bell. Please take a second to do all that. That would be super helpful. And I hope to see some of you next time.